Have you ever seen a guy as unlucky as this dude? The very start of the show, and bam stabbed dozens of times by his own lover, only to log out for good. You'd think fate had mercy, gifting him a rebirth in another world. But no, he's reincarnated as a dung beetle oops. I mean a gooplin named Dao. The lowest of the low in monster ranks, no breasts, just a bug eater. Yeah, real glamorous. A low-life scavenger, basically a trash-eating critter. By day 2, Dao's already moving, surrounded by nothing but kids his size. By day 3, he's growing fast. Guess all that bug buffet is good for the waistline. Just kidding. Gooplins have short lifespans, so quick growth makes sense. Plus, Dao's got the consciousness and top-tier skills from his past life. Soon enough, he becomes the proud father of this little den. On day 4, the old man brings them their last meal. After that, it's go out and hunt for yourselves. Stepping outside under the sunny, windy sky, the world feels sad somehow. But hey, gotta accept this humble gooplin life. Dao and another brave soul named Kichi are the first to step out, two fearless brothers in arms. They roam the wild together. They spot tiny creatures perfect for hunting. Thanks to experience and Kichi's help, they herd a one-horned rabbit right into Dao's trap. Dao jumps from a tree and bam, the unlucky rabbit meets its end. Just as they celebrate, another pesky critter tries to steal their meal, but Dao's rage flares and he smacks it down. Dao's definitely got a fiery temper. He takes the rabbit's horn as a weapon and starts carving into the meat. Teaching the newbie a lesson about hierarchy in the wild, disrespect gets you logged out fast. So this was for their own good. Naturally, Dao shares the meal with Kichi, bonding over mutual respect. Who knows? Maybe one day the favor gets returned. By day 5, the big guy's got a bit wiser, working well alongside Dao. These two are the first to leave the nest and the most successful. Every day brings fresh prey. After scoring a new prize, strange words flash in Dao's mind, leaving him puzzled. Even the meat tastes different today, it grants him an enemy's skill. So, this world runs like a game. Hunt, eat, level up. Back in his old life, Dao had killer skills, and now, he transforms hunted prey into his own strength. That's why, mere days after birth, he's wielding insane powers from his past. Sadly, the old skills stolen from enemies vanished, erased like a bad save file. So Dao hustles, hunting non-stop to reclaim his former glory. By day 6, his skill and charm attract a girl named Mi, who's fascinated by their bug-eating lifestyle and wants to marry Dao. She's pretty cute, and even invites him on a hunt tomorrow score. But then rain ruins the plan. With hunting off the table, Dao heads to the warehouse, hunting for weapons. He knows the old man named him because he's often out hunting humans. There, Dao uncovers a secret. The human women here can be gooplin mothers, but they prefer mating with humans. Could Dao be the product of the old man and these women? The old man sees Dao's smarts and potential. So he opens up. He's the elder of this den, the oldest here, but since gooplins grow fast, he's only 20 years old in gooplin years. This world is strange, but Dao's journey is just beginning. The old man revealed that Dao was leveling up at an astonishing speed only a few days in, and already at level 86. Once he hits level 100, he'll evolve into a higher being. On the 8th day, as promised, Dao took me and Kichi hunting, switching things up by going after snakes instead of rabbits because even a fierce hunter can get bored of the same old prey. Me, surprisingly clever, learned monster attack tactics from Dao and managed to take down a few foes. Day by day, Dao's level and skills soared. His ability to steal skills had a chance to activate it, wasn't guaranteed every time. Me ate fruit daily, but today, with the luxury of meat, happiness radiated from her. Even by luck, she managed to snatch a few abilities from their hunted prey. Cut to day 8, the team boldly plunged into a dungeon dripping with monster blood. But inside lurked high-level fiends, terrifying the group. Heart pounding, Me dashed ahead, while Kichi and Dao teamed up, blending defense and offense. With a skill that immobilized, they locked down a brute, slowly crushing it to death. With the kill secured, all three feasted on prime meat. Though skill theft was chance-based, at this rate of feasting, success felt inevitable. Meanwhile, the dumb goblins in the cave, watching their sumptuous feast, grew envious and tried to snatch some only to be thrashed like tattered blankets. One unlucky goblin even got accidentally taken out by a stray blow. But the team didn't care. The cave was full of other prey. The rest trembled, fearing little myth future wife of one among them. Seeing her beloved ambushed, she stepped in and took down an enemy, reminding them who ruled here. The next day, the trio spotted a bipedal boar instantly recognizable as top-tier pork. Together, they slaughtered the foe with deadly coordination. Fed by Dao's bounty, the two friends fought smart, leaving no chance for their prey to strike back. Today, kind-hearted Me hatched a new plan. Let the two teammates feast first. then bring the rest of the meat back for the younger goblins waiting at home. This was a lesson. Obey, and you'll be fed. Because here, Dao was the boss. By nightfall, Dao hit level 100 and evolved into a superior goblin form. His face mirrored his past life, albeit with a slightly greenish tint. He wasn't the only one to evolve. Kichi had transformed too. A telltale sign of evolution was hair growth. Yet, Mi bizarrely already had hair without evolving. Could it be that she'd grow hair underneath rather than on top? Old Man Jay was baffled and amazed that these two had evolved in less than a fortnight. Knowing his newfound strength, Kichi challenged his friend to a duel to test their evolved bodies and lightning-fast reflexes. It was like a level 1 fighting a level 100 Dao won effortlessly without needing to use his skills. The big guy, proud of his raw power, was gleeful. Suddenly, Dao sensed danger and called Mi to prepare their gear for battle. Nearby, a pack of powerful wolves was on the hunt, threatening their territory. Dao and his crew were the true hunters here. Mi took the high ground with her crossbow, while the others charged in, teeth and claws flying. Wolves were tough, but Ra had coated their arrows and weapons with poison earlier, making their strikes deadly. 7 wolves fell, but 1 stubborn survivor remained. Ra stayed on guard, but the wolf soon collapsed, becoming another meal. After devouring the alpha, Mi gained the skill pack leader over 7 packs. They brought food back for the little ones at home, with one condition: the debt of meat must be repaid later. The others hesitated, doubting their ability. Ra stepped forward, promising to teach them weapon-making and hunting skills. The younger goblins were awestruck, crowning him their leader. Old Man Jay grumbled but marveled at the progress. By day 17, Mi had evolved her face prettier, body fully developed, and equipped with modern comforts that even surprised Dao. But soon, dark times struck the young goblin women. They were captured and forced into breeding. Aware of their grim fate, they chose to end their suffering by taking their own lives. Amid this despair, Dao pushed the young goblins relentlessly to train. Food was never scarce, as the group constantly returned with fresh prey, nurturing growth. Dao absorbed skills from many powerful monsters, growing stronger by the day. Then, another goblin clan returned, weapons in hand, stirring tension. Dao prepared for battle, but Old Man D intervened, revealing these were elder relatives. The elders' recent raids had brought back plentiful goods, including fresh young females for breeding. Their beauty and vitality lifted the village chief's spirits, especially after the recent loss of women. Because goblin genes were strong, no matter who they bred with, the offspring would still be goblins. Yet this scene unsettled Dao. He approached a warrior named Ken to ask if he could take custody of these women. Naturally, Ken refused. How could he hand over what was caught as spoils? After all, a mere child of a few dozen days was commanding the adults now. Dao had built alliances with other clans, so all eyes turned to the elders. Just then, 2 young women stepped in to halt the brewing fight. They were family. The red-haired Sato, the strongest mage in the tribe so far, suggested settling the dispute with a duel. The victor would become leader of the entire tribe. Dao agreed, knowing he had to be as strong as 100 bloodthirsty goblins. The rules forbade weapons. The fight unfolded as expected. Ra dominated, overwhelming with skills he'd learned and even turning his own body into a living weapon. No ordinary arms here. With this victory, Dao became the supreme leader of the tribe. Having proven who ruled this den, Dao then met 5 human women. He assured them no male goblin would harm them, promising safety, clothing, and plenty of food. Most importantly, one day, they would be returned to their homeland. This news filled the 5 with hope, though they remained unaware of the price they would pay. Dao made a simple request. They must teach him about human knowledge about this world and everything within it. They also shared how their merchant caravan had been attacked by goblin elders. The men were slaughtered, while women and goods were taken captive. Only now did their emotions break free. They'd thought their lives ended. By day 28, the red-haired girl boldly greeted Ra. She was clearly the strongest among them, lifting the spirits of the others. Dao personally prepared meals using human ingredients, knowing that kindness would help them forget their pain and teach him much more. If you've ever felt powerless like these captives, take a moment to breathe and ask yourself, how do we find strength in the darkest of times? Sometimes, the greatest power isn't in might, but in compassion and understanding. Thanks for walking this path with me. A fresh wave of knowledge washes over him. The first spark ignites with the revelation of human evolution. Unlike GP Lin, these beings wield unique skills tailored to each individual. For now, that's all the intel they have, hidden deep within the tiger's den. Knowing this, they ask no more questions and instead turn to training the unruly elders. This wild rebel fears no one and pushes them to train like bulls charging headfirst. Those who defy his orders face harsh punishment, left powerless against his wrath. In recent days, He's hung up his hunting spear, choosing instead to drill the rules he's imposed. If this attitude persists, chaos will reign. On day 31, Kichi and Dao clash in a fierce battle clash of titans relying solely on raw physical strength, for the younger comrade isn't yet worthy of skill combat. As night falls, trouble brews when the elders defy orders, heading towards mating. The outcome? Predictable. Among the skills learned is one that lets men sense spatial shifts, while the foolish elders are left battered, barely clinging to life for their disobedience. Yet this is far from over. Tomorrow he vows to teach everyone the true meaning of obedience. 5 terrified girls, scared stiff, are brought forward by Rao to apologize for their fear. Even Redhair's heart quivers before this young rebel, collapsing into his arms along with me and Kichi. Following orders from their leader, the unruly ones are dragged outside and beaten to near death before the entire tribe, a brutal lesson in consequences. This discipline is meant to forge the clan's growth. No longer will they be a lowly, weak GP Lin tribe. Though Rao shows mercy, Ken, the ringleader, takes the harshest blows and dies by dawn. Today, the tribe sets out to hunt a mysterious creature, the Qilin. Its scales are tougher than arrows can pierce, but it remains a beast, vulnerable to the sharp strikes of Rao, Choi, Kichi, and men as they charge in to claim its life. The hunt is perilous, but the rewards are dazzling. Rao earns the Qilin's armor and a rapid healing ability, among other treasure ace prize worth every ounce of effort. A fascinating skill leans toward offense, letting him slash 3 blows with a single sword stroke. That night, Redhair comes to sleep beside the young warrior. In these brief days, the girl has fallen hard. This boy has stolen her heart. Feeling sympathy, she quietly covers him with a blanket, but does nothing more. Yet come morning, both wake to numb handstands out. Me had snuck in to sleep alongside them. That day also brings a shocking transformation. Little E evolves into a female of the tribe, stunning everyone. Since the elders' harsh training, all have been diligently honing their skills. Kichi stands as the right hand, me the left, both experts in guiding their comrades. Sa is a swift light warrior, while Zay is the village's sole mage. Little E handles logistics. Order is settling in at Thangia. The rewards were nothing short of mesmerizing. Red-haired hero gained a shimmering unicorn armor, paired with lightning-fast healing abilities, alongside a myriad of other gifts. Truly a prize worth every ounce of effort. Among these was a fascinating skill, one forged for offense. With a single swing of his blade, he could unleash 3 devastating strikes. That night, after his victory, the red-haired youth fell asleep beside a certain girl. Those fleeting days were enough. She was utterly smitten, and honestly, who could blame her? Feeling a mix of fear and tenderness, she wrapped him in a blanket but dared not disturb him. Yet, come morning, he woke to a tingling sensation in both hands. Turns out, she had sneaked in to sleep beside him all along. That day held another surprise. The young girl, Ye, evolved into a full-fledged female of her tribe, leaving everyone stunned. After a stern lesson from the elders, the whole group dove into rigorous training. Ki took the right arm, and me the left, each mastering their roles as comrades in arms. Together, they forged a team like no other. Sa, the agile light warrior, Zay, the village's sole mage, and Ye, who handled logistics with quiet efficiency. Life in the village began to find its rhythm. Even Dao found moments to hunt monsters on his own. The first beast he encountered was another unicorn, but now, with newfound strength from absorbing the previous one, slaying it felt effortless. Using first-level magic, he conjured a spear of pure energy and ended the hunt in a blink. Venturing deeper north, where more perilous creatures roamed, he quickly picked up the trail left by a hunter. Despite warnings from the wise Elder Dai about a colossal red bear, Dao pressed on. To this beast, the unicorn was but a mere mosquito. This was the bear's domain, a realm fiercely guarded. When they finally crossed paths, the bear recognized Dao's strength. Why else invade its territory? It refrained from attacking first. Had this been days ago, Dao would have fled for his life. But now, he felt the fire within to conquer this monstrous foe. The promise of a grand reward ignited Dao's spirit as he launched his newly learned magic to strike first. But the bear blocked his assault with a powerful swipe, sacrificing a paw to do so. The battle was brutal. Dao had to dodge relentlessly, unable to land a direct hit on the beast's mighty frame. Yet, a fierce determination blazed within him. He knew this was his fight to win. Meanwhile, the tribe waited anxiously, no sign of their leader yet. The red bear's ferocity was unmatched, and with each exchange the battlefield trembled. Dao danced on the edge of danger, every dodge a narrow escape from devastating blows. This was more than a fight, it was a test of will, a clash that would define his path forward. The bear struck again with a powerful blow, but even with 100% strength it couldn't finish Dao off. Not only was he strong, his body was incredibly tough. Even webbing him up did nothing. Moreover, the red bear could wield magicite spewed molten rock from its mouth, scorching everything within a kilometer. Thankfully, Rao anticipated the attack and minimized the damage with his healing magic. Thanks to his high recovery, he could keep fighting. But a deadly duel was inevitable to decide the victor. The bear unleashed fire again, but water magic softened the blow. Rao plunged his sword into the bear's mouth somehow. The beast didn't die immediately and smashed him with a thunderous strike, sending him flying hundreds of meters. That blow shattered almost every bone in his body. The bear couldn't breathe fire anymore and shifted to brute strength. After healing minor injuries, Dao gripped his sword tighter, hunger for victory burning brighter. The prey was too valuable. He predicted the bear's movements, dodged, and poured every ounce of strength into his final strike. The bear's skull was pierced, but Dao lost an arm and bore several wounds. The outcome was clear now. Dao began to savor the Prisia Prime bear meat that would push his evolution further. No longer a mere goblin, he transformed into the mightiest great demon goblin in history, his body towering and powerful. Yet, his lost arm hadn't grown back. Returning to the village, he was mistaken for an enemy, but his wife recognized him immediately. Mi rushed up and kicked him so hard it almost crippled him. The whole village was stunned by this evolution, showering praise, but Mi scolded Dao like a storm for his reckless foolishness. This evolution was a stepping stone for the tribe. With a great demon among them, other elite goblins could follow this path to ascend. Dao was to be the pioneer, lighting the way to a new future, filling everyone with joy. After explaining some details about his evolution, Rao went searching for something to wear. When he entered the storage, he scared the 4 girls out of their wits, lightening the mood. Using some basic magic learned after evolving, he performed a show for them, though you know what they say, win some hearts and lose some others. Mi, jealous, continued to torment him, but he just ignored it. There was a blacksmith girl whose weapon crafting skills made it easy to create gear suited for Dao. She worked well, and he affectionately rubbed her head, making another wife jealous. Meanwhile, men listened to their requests and sent help. Since they started teaching Dao, the fear of goblins had faded. The alchemist girl also fulfilled her role well, though she brewed poisons for self-defense, worried about future attacks despite trusting Rao. She feared rebellious goblins might one day strike them. Rao's charm had won over all the ladies, but 2 wives were still upset. Dao sensed a chill directed at him and understood it was time to stop teasing the girls. To make amends, he carried both of them all day before finally letting them go the next morning. The next day, Dao and a few warriors went to spar and dominated, winning every match. For the goblins who hadn't evolved yet, a light flick would kill them instantly. Only Kichi could endure, though his armor and shield were ruined. Feeling unsatisfied, he left to train elsewhere, worrying Dao. Returning home, Dao found everyone still hard at work, while he sat mending clothes despite missing his left arm. Thanks to Slim's skills, he could still manage. Then a strange event unfolded. E brought in a tiny girl, badly injured, and asked Dao to heal her. He could only mend her wounds. Her lost blood required medicine from the village's alchemist. After a while, the girl regained consciousness, thanked them, and introduced herself as Rita Returner, who had just been attacked by humans. What a lucky rescue. Rhett was hunted because of a rare gem embedded in her forehead, worth a fortune, explaining why she was pursued. But there was a deeper reason. She was the guardian of a treasure left behind by a brilliant sorcerer. Her body was too damaged to live long, so she pleaded with the group to drive off the adventurers in exchange for the treasure. Her master hated humans, so she vowed to give everything to her saviors rather than let it fall into the wrong hands. After that, Dao took charge of training warriors to hunt for the treasure. Borrowing a knife crafted by the blacksmith girl, he intended to scare off humans without killing them, assuring the 5 girls it seemed fate had intertwined them with the treasure. E had even dug a tunnel leading straight to it. Quickly, they encountered hostile adventurers, one using invisibility to attack, but Dao dismissed them like mosquitoes. He didn't even unleash his power. Yet, the mages struck him hard in the face, stinging his pride. That was the last straw. Breaking his promise to the girls, he tore into the intruders. When the leader gave the order, all the warriors charged to rip their prey apart. After devouring them, Dao absorbed impressive skills from these powerful foes. It seemed unlucky for them to cross paths with him, but beneficial for Dao. Now, not only could he gain skills from meat, but he could consume equipment too. The adventurers' item bags were devoured and transformed into portable storage capable of holding billions of items. Talk about cheating the system! The promise to Rhett was fulfilled. She expressed her gratitude and vanished, gifting Dao the rare gem. After absorbing the gem, Dao gained new skills. Together, they bid farewell to Rhett. The treasure was entirely cleared out, and the remains of its creator were destroyed to prevent evil hands from misusing it. Thanks to this, Dao obtained a high-quality gauntlet that served as a new arm inseparable once worn, replacing the one he lost. With this new arm, Dao's power surged. This transformation was more than physical, it was a rebirth into a legend. As we watch his journey unfold, we're reminded that true strength often comes wrapped in sacrifice and the bonds we forge. If you've ever faced loss or felt powerless, perhaps Dao's story whispers to you, even broken, we can rise stronger than ever. Thanks for walking this path with me. Deep within his body lies a legendary class inheritance, brimming with diverse powers. After crushing every challenge, the whole crew feasts hard, drowning their worries in drink before calling it a night. On day 38, the bearded blacksmith inspects the weapons they've gathered, only to discover they're all rare treasures. Come the next day, they divide these powerful arms among the 7, each chosen to amplify their strength. As for the young man, he selects a different legendary weapon, one that resonates with his left arm, accompanied by a mystical bracelet also, a legendary artifact. With such gear, he could easily dominate a kingdom. On day 39, they hold a tournament for the evolved member everyone, but him is strong now. They even plan to form a mercenary squad just for fun. Then, on day 41, he stumbles upon a rare monster. After stealing its skill, he gains the power to spin golden threads. But the surprises don't end there. Our young hero encounters enchanting forest spirits fairies of the Raz race. As his grandfather once told him, these beings are breathtakingly beautiful and irresistibly alluring. No soul escapes their charm. Being a virgin, he's immediately spellbound, struggling in vain before surrendering to temptation. Though drained from the encounter, after sleeping with one of the fairies, he receives a blessing from the sacred tree. Promises are made, if time allows, they'll meet again. Truly wild times. Before leaving, he cleanses himself thoroughly. No way he wants his 2 wives sniffing out the scent of another woman, otherwise this life is doomed. But the next day, Mi shows anger, and when he asks around, no one knows why. Even the redhead and the other girlfriends are seething, ready to poison him. The alchemist lady, however, is different. She tolerates his escapades but insists on still being loved. Just as she's about to get affectionate, Mi discovers that he's brazenly flaunting his affairs openly now. At this point it seems hopeless. Luckily, all the women love him so fiercely that their jealousy only fuels a strange kind of fairness. They all want to claim their share. The day ends with our hero single-handedly handling their wrath, promising to take responsibility if things go south. On day 44, after measuring the 6 wives, danger looms. Outside, the proud elf tribe arrives. Men senses bad news brewing. They've come to recruit the entire village to fight in their war against humans, targeting an elf relic. Grandfather Dai hesitates, but the young man stands firm, rejecting them outright. These elves are arrogant and disrespectful. As tensions rise, he declares dominion over this land, not theirs. Grabbing the leader by the collar, he forces the ambushing soldiers to retreat. One defiant elf fires anyway, but our hero calmly draws his legendary weapon. Jealousy brewed in the hearts of many who adored Dao, but one woman stood apart, accepting his playful romance with others while still demanding his love. Just as she leaned in for a kiss, Mi caught the scene, openly flaunting such behavior. This was chaos in the making. Luckily, all the girls loved him so fiercely, they decided to make amends by sharing those moments equally. The result? That day, the young man single-handedly won over every girl, promising to take responsibility if anything went wrong. On day 44, after measuring 6 of his wives, Dao sensed danger looming. Stepping outside, he found the proud elf tribe at his doorstep. A gut feeling warned of impending trouble. They had come to capture the village's gifted Honesto, conscript them into war. Their enemy? Humans, aiming to target the elves' treasures. Elder Dai trembled at their arrival, but Dao? He stood unshaken, outright rejecting their demands. These brash intruders acted like they owned the place, but Dao was ready to show them who truly ruled this land. Seizing the leader by the collar, Dao forced him to call off his ambush. Though one soldier stubbornly fired a shot, the message was clear. This territory belonged to Dao, not the elf tribe. In this moment, the battle lines were drawn not just for land, but for pride, power, and survival. Tying his hair back, Dao unleashed the legendary weapon. His spear's phantom power had already proven itself. Dao could summon 1,000 spear tips within 100 meters, a deadly display that taught the elf tribe a harsh lesson. The elf warriors fled like dogs, tails between their legs, not daring to look back. The next day, Dao had hunted several special slim creatures. After devouring about 20 of them, he had learned a new skill. This skill allowed him to create blood clones, enabling the original to sense and share vision with them. Dao then conceived a bold idea, ending these clones into the elves' territory to protect them. As expected, the defeated elf tribe came back seeking revenge. Known as a noble clan of the forest, yet they were chased down and humiliated by goblins. Arriving at their cave, they were once again immobilized by Dao's mighty lion roar. All were captured at once and brought inside to decide their fate. The elf women, fair and graceful, were spared, while the male warriors and their foolish leader were given a harsh lesson. Dao even arranged a tournament between the two sides, rigging the matches so all elf women survived, while the others lost. As they reach the cave entrance, they are once again frozen by Dao's lion roar, captured all at once and dragged inside to decide their fate. The elf women, fair and pure, are spared, but the males, including their foolish leader, get a harsh lesson. They stage a mock tournament, rigged so the elf women survive, while the defeated males end up chewed out literally then, disarmed and imprisoned. No mercy here. Hearing this, Grandpa Dai gets excited, eager to stir his lower half into action, but the rebellious grandson forbids it. Of course, Grandpa must set an example, so he indulges just a little. Dao feels sorry and buys a liter of cooking oil to help Grandpa drown his sorrows with the leader, who quickly gets sold off as a salt merchant. Days later, after Kichi slays a massive bear, he levels up again, shocking the whole goblin clan as he evolves into Varian's new form. Overjoyed to finally catch up with his bearded friend, who's also glowing red and tough thanks to blessings from a demigod. Each evolution sparks a friendly but fierce arm-wrestling challenge between the two, of course. The bearded guy agrees, since no one else is man enough to face him. Their battle begins, strength and endurance soaring, but raw power alone doesn't win fights. Dao's battle, hardened experience, tips the scales between Kichithi's skilled fighter and his clueless opponent. In the end, Kichi is knocked speechless but thrilled to have challenged the leader. That night, exhausted, Dao encounters a ghost who gifts him a hidden skill, likely something insanely powerful. The next day, just after a brief rest, Yi drags Dao to witness something fascinating. Since Kichi's second evolution, other young clan members have evolved too, each in their unique way. The standout is a boy named Chi, who wields magic and promises to become a valuable ally to Zay. Speaking of her, she's also evolved to stage 20, not just beautiful, but magically stronger by leaps. Seems every goblin evolves differently, shaped by their talents. Chi even activates 2 demon-slaying marks on his arms, empowering his magic to a level where a single spell could raise a whole forest. Dao is challenged to a solo fight but backs down, knowing he's only witnessed a fraction of her true strength. Satu feels jealous but hopeful, encouraged that she'll evolve soon too. A village with so many evolved goblins? Surely Dao's influence since childhood is the reason. The younger goblins quickly surpass their elders, who haven't evolved even once. This causes many elders to leave, but Dao doesn't stop them. He even gifts them supplies to survive on their own. The next day, Men spots a wild boar hunting humans. Normally he'd ignore it, but seeing a youth's corpse, he seizes the chance to feed. Having mastered beast taming, he returns home to a surprising gift from his wife, mysterious liquor infused with some animal's testicles. No clue if it's some aphrodisiac, but drinking it gets him high. With newfound courage, he calls a meeting about the elders' departure, asking who wants to nobody volunteers. Rao even invents a remote communication device to help hunting teams coordinate better. In the hunting party, E's combat skills are unreal. She kills a unicorn without leaving a trace, which Rao then tames. This elevates the goblin village once more. Now they have majestic mounts and no longer need to run on foot during hunts. On day 59, after some intimate time with Dao, his red-haired wife grows stronger, able to take on several dog tribe warriors alone. She's also evolving, feeling invigorated. After mating, the girl gains new skills but must feed on magical beast meat regularly or face death hardly different from a monster herself. Recently, Chi reports many of their kind being attacked by humans but still managing to escape. The looming war between humans and elves feels inevitable. The next day, Dao senses packs of dogs running wild. This way enemy forces are overwhelming. He summons everyone to prepare for battle. The monsters that appear are Scotten Screechers, formed from human corpses, able to block weapon strikes but vulnerable to bare-handed attacks. Recognizing this, Rao orders everyone to drop weapons and fight hand-to-hand, and Dao handles the rearguard's enemies. He calculates it'll take just 10 seconds to wipe them out with his divine spear, actually only 7 seconds, since he's gotten that powerful. The rescued dogs surrender, knowing their only hope was running to the goblin cave, even if it meant becoming prey. Dao's eaten many dogs before, but this is nature's harsh law, no blame to anyone. A warning shout might save the whole pack from becoming dinner. On day 61, Dao and Kichi stumble upon suspicious human soldiers. Using his top-tier skills, Dao easily eavesdrops and learns they're targeting the elf chief's daughter, planning an attack. Worse, there's a traitor inside the elf faction, giving humans a foothold. 2 hours later, the elf chief's daughter arrives with her escort all stunningly beautiful, but the ambush kills most guards and captures the hostage. That's when Dao steps in. Kichi's mission: capture the humans and extract intel. The entire escort is slaughtered, so Dao performs a memorial service for them. The next day, Men interrogates 12 survivors, learning humans plan an all-out assault on the forest in 20 days. After draining their secrets, he devours them and gains many new skills. With his top-tier skills, Meng easily eavesdropped and discovered the enemy's plan. They aimed to attack the elf chief's daughter. More alarmingly, there was a traitor within the elf ranks, giving humans a chance to strike. About 2 hours later, the escort of the elf chief's daughter arrived. The elf tribe was full of stunningly handsome men and women, but this girl outshone them all. Caught off guard, the escort was quickly slaughtered and the hostage captured, prompting Dao to move in. Kichi's role was to transport the humans to extract information. The entire escort was wiped out, and Dao offered a prayer for their souls. The next day, Meng interrogated the 12 survivors and learned the humans planned a full assault on the forest in 20 days. As they squeezed out every secret, Meng swallowed them alive to absorb numerous new skills. Little E awoke with a shock at Dao's presence. She had a vivid imagination, and suspected Meng wanted to steal her conquest. Dao, having already devoured countless women in the cave, was far beyond caring about such petty matters. Once she calmed down and heard the escort was wiped out, her anger flared again. Luckily, she was important enough to be spared. Goblins didn't meddle in the human-elf war, but kindly revealed the elf faction had a spy. That night, the old man D saw his grandson return with a prized weapon and wanted to stir up some action below the waist, but Meng forbade it, leaving him to grumble in silence. On day 63, the escort returned with the girl and told her about the wings on her back, a mark of elf evolution granting the power of flight. Hearing this, Dao planned to hunt some high-ranking elves to gain wings himself. After 3 hours, they reached the elf village, welcomed by dozens of fierce warriors. The girl had already, with their escorts wiped out and panic rising like a storm ready to burst, it was a miracle that the young woman, an essential character, kept her cool. Goblins, ever the bystanders, refused to meddle in the fierce clash between humans and elves, yet still showed a surprising kindness. Among the elves, there was an elder who, noticing his grandson had brought back a rare treasure, wanted to awaken the lower body's potential. Though forbidden, he eventually had to relent. What choice did he have? On the 63rd day, they escorted the lady back, where tales of the wings on her back came to light, an evolutionary trait of the elf race granting flight. Hearing this, Ra'u's mind sparked with the thought of hunting high-level elves, eager to soar himself. After 3 hours, they reached the elf village, greeted by dozens of formidable warriors. Thanks to the lady's intervention and explanations, tensions eased. They met the village chief, who expressed gratitude but bluntly admitted he hadn't done much good. In return, the other side offered a reward. Rao, testing the man's devotion to his daughter, didn't hesitate to present the elf clan's strongest treasure, the legendary divine bow, Fnos. Seeing such sincerity, the elf lady shared intel gleaned from the human world. Soon after, the two factions sealed their alliance, accompanied by gifts of weapons forged from precious metals. In exchange, the elf lady provided essential war supplies. As they prepared to leave, the village chief inquired about his elite unit missing for 20 days. Embarrassed, she avoided confessing that she'd swallowed them whole, while the rest were imprisoned for other purposes. The young man spun a tale of ignorance. Returning home, she treated the group to elf clan wine, the true gift that thrilled him, not some shiny artifact. The next morning, he woke to find his wife evolved once more now. A stunning, seductive demon with flowing hair that could captivate any onlooker. In the village, several youngsters had just undergone their first evolution. She warned me never to remove her glasses around comrades, or else they'd all fall under her spell. Ironically, me had already enchanted them all. Being evolved also meant she was decked out with top-tier gear. Meanwhile, the younger sister had evolved into a sturdy beast, a natural digger who now unearthed rare minerals with incredible efficiency. Sa had also transformed into a crimson demon, wielding blood manipulation in combat. Somehow, all the girls who reached their second evolution gained the Demon Slayer mark, yet the elf lady and Kichi showed no visible signs of change. The village's power rankings shifted dramatically. Now, the 4 girls who had evolved twice stood as the true matriarchs of the village, while the elf lady and Kichi seemed to age gracefully without such marks. Knowing relentless war loomed, they prepared advanced communication devices to connect the dog and elf clans. The dogs were loyal, but elves, as everyone knew, feared tainted metals. When they refused to listen, the elf lady took bold action, revealing a secret weapon from her clothes to win them over. Once tainted, each elf was bound to obey, boosting the strength of both clans under her command. She even created skeletal monsters to fight alongside them, though her experiments with these creatures yielded mixed results. The following day, they traveled to the dog's old home to harvest remaining resources. After finishing, Mi sealed the cavern to prevent new monsters from spawning. On the way back, they hunted beasts to ride a small victory in an endless journey. And so, amidst evolving powers, fragile alliances, and looming war, these characters carved out their destinies, each step a pulse in the heartbeat of a world teetering between chaos and hope. If you've ever felt powerless like them, breathe in their resilience. Sometimes strength isn't just in power, but in the bonds we forge and the courage to face the unknown. Thanks for sharing this journey with me. The goblin tribe moves with a dancer's grace, swift and silent, which helped them quickly capture a riding beast. That night, good news arrived from the wife. Skilled in crafting weapons, she upgraded the healing staff used in the battle against the Red Bear into a high-tier weapon. Such extraordinary feats were thanks to countless nights spent together. Today, Kichi opened up about his feeling. She's been smitten with a girl for a long time, but never dared to confess. Recently, she leveled up and grew even more beautiful, prompting Kichi to seek advice on how to confess. Foreseeing this moment, arrangements were made for the awkward guy's date. That night, Kichi poured out his heart, wishing for a happy life together with her. In truth, the girl had liked this clumsy boy for some time, and immediately said yes. Suddenly, Kichi's pants slipped down, and all we heard was their satisfied laughter. The next day, Kichi challenged the tribe leader to a fight. Having just become an adult yesterday, he was full of energy, and the fight was intense enough to almost break the leader's arm. Actually, the chief's wife had been informed about the confession beforehand, so the couple had arranged this meeting. She was worried that her strong friend might hurt the girl, but seeing her fierce spirit, it seemed like the perfect match. Today, the four of them went hunting together. After consuming some insect meat, the girl transformed, donning armor that disperses impact, force allowing Kichi to strike freely without harm. The armor's only flaw was its flashy appearance, which she didn't like. Aside from the armor, the girl had wings, but mastering flight still required more practice. On day 69, rain kept them from hunting, so they stayed in the cave training. The red-haired girl grew stronger and trained like a loyal puppy. Her weapon skills improved with the help of the two wives, even after being smacked by a beard. Anyone in her hands was tamed effortlessly. The two sister cooks also made progress, recreating foods from their past lives, her favorite being dishes from the alchemist. She always knew how to pamper her husband, stirring jealousy among the other wives. That night, he wrestled with his 6 wives like before. The next day, an elf messenger arrived with news that humanity was preparing an attack. Previously, men had turned the elves into dark elves, so they went unnoticed. Knowing the human forces were vast, the elf tribe couldn't face them alone. They didn't care about rewards, only asking for the goblin villagers' help. Rao agreed, having already planned to form a mercenary squad for independent action, handing over communication devices to their allies. Dao then announced to the village that it was time to showcase the results of their training. He formed a mercenary army called Parabellum, thrilling everyone because who doesn't love a good fight? On day 71, the village's strongest warriors, mounted and enhanced by silent magic, set out on their first mission. Despite their noisy movements, magic muted their sounds, perfect for stealthy approaches. Main's clone had scouted the enemy human army in a middle region, a perfect ambush spot. Upon arrival, they found the camp surrounded by anti-magic barriers blocking all magical and dark forces, leaving only humans. Under Da'u's command, they surrounded the barrier, planning to trap the enemy with no chance to escape. Once everyone was in position, Rao used an enchanted silver arm technique to shatter the anti-magic barrier. The Parabellum mercenary army launched their full assault. Dao used mind digging to erect walls trapping the enemy, while Mi cast spells raining down destruction. Though powerful, the human forces retaliated fiercely. Men summoned skeletal monsters for close combat, but they were weak and easily defeated. The standout among the humans was a beautiful female swordsman who caught men's eye. He greeted her with a lion's roar, revealing himself as the chief mage. The human mage was formidable too, clearing paths with wide-area spells for the swordswoman to duel Dao. Watching this, Dao was amused, not wanting to kill her but to keep her for later use. The girl barely dodged attacks and, feeling underestimated, was determined to fight on. Accepting her fate if defeated, she remained steadfast, much to Main's respect. He used telepathy to warn allies not to harm 4 key humans, while the rest were fair game. Mi manipulated the battlefield with enchantments, turning soldiers against each other, while Sato wielded blood swords to massacre the remaining foes. Everyone fought joyfully, completing the mission without losses. After teasing the swordswoman with futile attacks, she was struck by a thunder god spell from the human mage. She was urged to flee, but her sword spirit refused to run, wanting to hold men in place. Men praised their spirit, then pushed her aside, declaring victory despite the mage's 5th-tier magic attack. This risky tactic wasn't often used, but Main's fearlessness made it possible. After defeating several strong foes, Dao gained many new skills. The next day, the elf tribe arrived personally to thank him, paying with barrels of fine wine. In these joyful moments, Dao brewed stimulants for 2 newly captured girls, including the swordswoman. At first, she refused to marry, but eventually gave in here. Laws don't matter. If you want it, you just take it. The next day, both girls cooperated fully, sharing all their knowledge with Dao. Information was passed to the elf tribe for defense preparation before the next assault. Payment remained 10 barrels of fine wine, enough to motivate their cooperation. Soon, 3 armies would attack the elf tribe, so once again they'd rely on Raoul to handle matters. The next day, he and his 72 brothers stood on the enemy's march route, having set traps and other tactics for a swift strike. Though the enemy was strong, the goblin village was no weakling. They blocked escape routes and launched a full assault. Minor tasks were left to first stage evolved goblins, while the second stage fighters, like them, broke through enemy formations. The enemy commander, a promising warrior, fought fiercely, despite only having 100 soldiers left, managing to block ranged attacks. Kichi was sent to shatter the enemy lines, with strict orders not to kill the commander. Dao employed a 3-pronged strategy. Segment incomplete. In a brutal display, 3 warriors fell a single enemy without fear of loss. Kichi, intrigued by the young commander's fierce skill in battle, watched as he captured foes with a fierce joy, the thrill of combat lighting his eyes. After the fight, they reported to the elf tribe before retreating. Kichi remarked that the commander bore a striking resemblance to Dao. Meanwhile, Mi craved intimacy, her body aching for connection after the chaos of battle, longing to bear children for her husband. Hearing this, Dao smiled warmly, while Kichi was left baffled, unable to grasp the sudden surge of desire. The next day, the powerful prisoners woke, confused by the swarm of monsters surrounding them. The red-haired leader remained optimistic. Being well-fed was a blessing. Though a leader, he came from humble origins. Captured, he was treated as an equal, but still scorned by others. Soon, he was brought before the forest's guardian and questioned about the humans' relentless assault on the elf tribe. This conflict centered on a princess from a mighty empire, cursed with a disease that claimed 99.9% of its victims, yet somehow she survived. In desperation, she was married off to a powerful nation to seek a cure. That nation learned of the elf tribe's secret Remedia miraculous cure-all herb and launched their attack. It was a cruel gamble: seize the formula, dominate the world. Meanwhile, back at their camp, the small group kept mining, accidentally uncovering a hot spring. When everyone came to see, they were stunned. The cave water was truly warm. Only Dao, the sharpest among them, recognized its healing and beautifying powers. He ordered the construction of a bathhouse system, and upon completion, the entire group soaked together a treasure beyond gold. Dao thanked his friend's wife for this blessing. By day 75, the humans grew restless, so men arranged training sessions under Mi's command, preparing them to lead future battles without waiting for Dao's orders. This was essential, contrasting with the 2 red-haired girls who struggled to strategize. The red-haired boys, however, were fierce warriors, their heads practically smoking from effort. While the soldiers wondered why goblins trained so hard, the red-haired leader fought with unyielding spirit, earning men's respect. Tired of clashing with mere skeletons, he longed for a stronger opponent, and Rao agreed. Physically powerful, Rao was ready to spar. The redhead could hold his own against Ki, whose brains were lacking, but Rao's cunning quickly knocked him out in seconds. Enduring those blows was a feat in itself. Kichi, thrilled, begged his friend to let him take a turn on Rao. After healing the redhead, they matched brains against muscle. In truth, both were beasts, but Kichi was a wild bull, stronger by far. After exhausting battles, the captured leader was sent off to eat. Known as an ordinary man turned commander through sheer talent, he had tasted life's bitter and sweet, and recognized Dao as a brilliant leader, able to unite diverse races in peace. He harbored no prejudice against demi-humans or monsters, and wished to abandon everything to serve men. Seeing his resolute gaze, Dao removed the redhead's shackles, declaring he would become part of the village. Men's wife was also sent to learn martial arts from him. Both shared red hair and humanity, making training easier. The next day, Dao asked the other tribe's chief to escort the weaker prisoners back home. They'd be useless here, and killing them was wasteful. This act of mercy underscored the fragile balance between survival and compassion. If you've ever felt torn between harsh reality and kindness, pause and ask, what does it mean to lead with heart in a world torn by war? Sometimes, strength lies not in power, but in the courage to embrace others as family. Thanks for sharing this journey with me. So, they sent others to gather intel, yet he still asked about the rare herb humanity desperately sought. Last time, that old man gave it to me. I kept wondering why he'd part with something so precious. But who knew, he wasn't stingy at all. Just bringing his daughter back safe was enough joy. These things are just objects anyway. I tried a sip and was shocked the potion was insanely potent. Yet its power and effects? Totally worth it. Bitter medicine curing all wounds, that's the truth. Dao, bleeding and battered, drank it, and all his injuries vanished. It was like magic. At that moment, Dao's body was nothing short of immortal, healing at an astonishing rate. Days later, he stumbled upon another army camped nearby. Instantly, he unleashed his divine spear through the general's body. Thousands of spears sprouted within 100 meters, sweeping the enemy clean. The mercenary troops mopped up the leftovers, ending the battle in 20 minutes. Every corpse was absorbed by Main's slim skill to prevent pollution. By day 82, Dao and the human wives visited the elf tribe to celebrate their victory. The two girls felt uneasy as the villagers stared daggers at them, but Dao reassured the village chief, who, unlike others, stayed calm. He and his daughter brought out the rare wine Dao loved to share. You know how it is with wine, words start flowing. They spoke of recent triumphs and, thankfully, no losses so far. The elf tribe was happy but anxious this war couldn't drag on forever. They vowed to end the conflict soon. On their way back, the blonde made a request that could end this war. Though she pledged loyalty to Dao, she still wanted to save the human princess. She hoped Dao would share the elf tribe's secret healing herb with humanity to finally end this battle once and for all. This made men think hard. In this world, the 5 great gods reign supreme, their blessings powerful, but also a source of religious tension. Men himself bears the blessing of the origin and end god, plus the elves' full recovery herb. If word leaked, it could spark a new war. One nation might stand against that, but 10 united in attack. Nothing could withstand. So, men weighed his options carefully. Meanwhile, the mercenary battalion Parabellum prepared for the final battle at dawn. They spotted around 2,000 enemies. Reinforced by 500 elves, their total force reached 650. The second evolution fighters were unstoppable, but the others needed a plan. Charging in blindly meant certain death. Just yesterday, men learned humans sent an elite squad, the 8 heroes. These 8 warriors, blessed by the gods, were humanity's strongest. Their powers needed no introduction. What worried men most was their ability to empower allies, balancing the battlefield. Men summoned his bone soldiers to counter them. But dawn was near, and such creatures can't function in sunlight. What use were they? Dao had a plan. He assigned tasks swiftly, splitting his forces. The fight began, and the skeletons fought fearlessly, undeterred by death. But once sunlight hit, they dissolved as expected, just as men predicted. Using the flesh of fallen troops, he crafted their bodies to resist the sun's flames. Seeing the enemy numbers dwindle, Dao took on the rest single-handedly, leaving bones behind to assist nearby. One of the 8 heroes appeared and witnessed Dao's peak ability, mastering the storm of flesh to blow away enemies during their rest. Then, a tiny figure approached, eager to fight. Having received intelligence early, Dao recognized him as one of humanity's strongest 8. This fighter specialized in insect magic. Surprised that Dao knew so much, he hated being called Insect Lord, even though it was his official divine title. The double-eyed symbol marked his blessing from the god of demonic insects. Though he looked like a scrappy kid, his aura radiated raw power. To greet men, he unleashed swarms of insects invading corpses, transforming them into various creatures, and strengthening all fallen soldiers. None of this troubled Dao, who impressed the opponent by easily defeating the enhanced troops. Next time, the fighter coordinated his forces better, upping the threat level. To raise the stakes, he summoned a giant centipede whose sheer pressure shocked men. This beast was a calamity-class monster capable of destroying cities effortlessly, its venom paralyzing men. Mi, watching anxiously beside her husband, feared for him. When the centipede retreated, Rao reappeared, attacking the green-haired fighter unexpectedly. Everyone thought he'd died, but somehow he recovered completely. The opponent guessed Dao's previous body was a fake. Curious about Mei's blessing, Dao stayed silent but ready to fight again. The green-haired fighter introduced himself as Philip, ranked 7th among the 8 strongest. If men was only as strong as him, victory over the others was impossible. Feeling insulted, Philip launched magic attacks that barely fazed Dao. Even direct sword blows were blocked effortlessly. Philip transformed into a demon form to match strength, as normal form wasn't enough. Seeing this, Rao wanted to add Philip to today's menu. Charging in, Rao hit him with a punch and a magic blast, but Philip dodged. Nearby, one of the 8 great heroes arrived and witnessed Dao's supreme power. He summoned storms of blood and flesh, blowing away enemies with raw force. While resting and eating, a tiny figure approached, eager to fight. Armed with prior intel, Dao recognized him as one of the 8 strongest humans. This warrior's power centered on insects, and he was annoyed at being called Insect Clown, a title granted by the gods. The double-eyed emblem on his body symbolized blessings from the insect deity. Though he looked like a scrappy kid, an intense energy radiated from within. To greet Meng, he unleashed countless insects to possess corpses, turning humans into monstrous hybrids, and even empowered fallen soldiers into stronger fighters. These abominations were no match for Dao, thrilling the insect warrior who marveled at how easily Dao defeated his enhanced troops. Next, he commanded his forces more strategically, increasing the battle's intensity by summoning a gigantic centipede. The sheer pressure stunned Meng, and this beast qualified as a disaster-level monster, capable of destroying a city with ease. Its venom was potent enough to paralyze. Mi, watching anxiously, worried for her husband. When the centipede finally withdrew, Dao reappeared, launching a surprise attack. Everyone thought he was dead, but somehow Dao recovered fully. The insect warrior suspected the corpse was a decoy and wanted to discover Dao's blessing. Dao kept silent, eager to continue the fight. The blue-haired warrior introduced himself as Philip, ranked 7th among the 8 strongest. If Meng was only as strong as Philip, it meant he couldn't defeat the higher-ranked warriors. Feeling disrespected, Philip launched a magical assault, but Dao shrugged it off, even withstanding a direct sword strike. Philip transformed into a demon form to match Dao's power. Normal forms couldn't decide the winner. Seeing this, Dao wanted to add Philip to today's menu. Charging in, Dao delivered a punch followed by a magic blow which Philip dodged. Then Philip shifted into an insect form to fight. His armor blocked all attacks, and he could even fly, seizing the upper hand. One punch from him seemed capable of obliterating the entire forest. Meanwhile, others cleaned up the battlefield. 2,000 soldiers had been wiped out, a truly frustrating outcome. Mi, worried, flew over to check on her husband. Sensing defeat, Philip requested to retreat for now, promising a rematch later. Dao tried to chase but was outsmarted, losing his first prey. Philip swore he'd devour Dao one day for the trouble caused. Seeing the love between Mi and Dao still strong, Mi embraced him and updated him on the battle's status. Overall, it was over. All that was left was to deliver the elf secret medicine to the nearby rulers. Meng used his clones to send the goods to the commander, who was a future emperor. Knowing the enemy was closing in, Meng hesitated to tell anyone. Dao wanted to end the battle by handing over the crucial potion they were after. Once obtained, there'd be no need to waste soldiers in the war against the elves. The opposing forces agreed to withdraw. Dao didn't want to kill the heir to the throne. His death would only escalate the conflict. The current clan's strength wasn't enough to face a mighty empire. To secure the area, Dao asked me to carve out mountains as temporary walls. The dead and wounded were gathered and buried respectfully. They also captured a few demons along the way, ensuring the battlefield was cleared. Handing over the elf clan's secret elixir to the nearby rulers would settle this matter. Men used his clone to deliver the item, the recipient this time being the future emperor. Knowing the enemy had closed in so close made him nervous, so he kept it a secret. Dao wanted to end the battle here by giving the crucial potion they were after. Once they had it, there was no need to waste soldiers attacking the elf clan. So, they allowed their troops to retreat back with Dao. He didn't want to kill the heir to the throne. If the future emperor died, the conflict would escalate. Right now, the clan's strength wasn't enough to face a mighty empire. To secure the area, Dao ordered the mountains to be carved out as temporary walls. The dead and wounded were gathered for proper burial. They also captured some demons, quite an interesting choice for prisoners. The few surviving soldiers were spared since the battle had ended. Upon returning, they calculated their losses. 30 of their own had fallen, including 6 first-stage evolved goblins, 2 mages, 8 regular goblins, and 10 kobolds. The rest were casualties from the elf clan. Dao personally cremated their fallen comrades with the sacred fire of this world. Without a proper send-off, the dead would turn into bone monsters. Together, they prayed for the souls of their first-generation comrades. Though goblins, they were well educated by Dao, and all showed emotion. Everyone cried except Men, their leader. After all, if a leader cried, who could they lead? Everyone blamed themselves, thinking if only they'd been stronger, none would have died. On day 84, after waking up, Dao's eyes met a wild gaze staring back at him. It took a moment to realize it was Fu's younger sister, a member known for her taste for carrion. After the last battle, she had evolved to the 2nd stage, transforming into this form. Another member had evolved too, becoming a healer type for T. This was beyond expectations. especially since she could defend with a barrier, capable of blocking two of Mayon's strongest attacks. If she was just an ordinary sibling, that'd be great, but the crazy, wild girl was the real concern. Cheeky, seeing the strong dark aura radiating from her, didn't want to get involved first, because he feared his wife's wrath, and second, if he got hurt, it'd be game over for him. Dao dared not stop this wild behavior, probably out of fear. The village, embracing feminism, had several such evolved members, including a friend of Fu's. They must have eaten a lot of carrion to evolve into these dark forms. The youngest sprouted countless eyes all over her body, resembling the Sharingan of the Leaf Village. With so many eyes, her ability to gather information and support allies surpassed even Dao's. The old man, Dai, was in charge of renaming Theme a sacred duty only he could perform. Meanwhile, 7 goblins following Kichi and Dao had also evolved to the first stage. They looked much like Cheeky but lacked the blessings of the gods, so they remained green. The village's militia had just welcomed several new members, significantly boosting their numbers. The most bizarre development was that their leader had evolved into a dog-headed human. Dao was stunned to see that he had taken his own image as a model for evolution. Normally, their dog clan evolved differently. Not only that, he received a true name, called Suji. Old Man Jay had previously explained that a true name is a special title granted to those who achieve a certain level of power and recognition, marking them as unique among their kind. This honor was reserved for the strongest and most respected. The evolution and growth of the clan were unfolding rapidly, each transformation carrying new hopes and burdens. The bonds between them deepened, but so did the shadows lurking beneath their newfound strengths. With the stakes ever rising, the clan's journey was far from over. Every evolution, every battle, every sacrifice was a step toward an uncertain future. Dao and his comrades faced not only external enemies, but also the internal struggles of leadership, loyalty, and the haunting cost of power. This was more than a mere fight for survival, it was the forging of a legend, carved in blood and fire. Beyond a certain level of existence, under no circumstances should one reveal their true name to anyone, otherwise they risk falling victim to curses that call their name or spells that require a true name to cast. Though dangerous, he fully agreed, which is why Dao was entrusted with the name, a lifelong oath of loyalty to the leader. That's why the dog clan was somewhat supported. Aside from this, there was another matter. It concerned the lazy prisoners. Dao gathered them all and kicked most out who would want to feed freeloaders. Those without a home or who wished to stay could temporarily join the mercenary legion. Hearing this, the demons they caught before showed attitude. They were far stronger than the first evolution goblin troops, but were treated like lowly soldiers and refused to accept the young goblins from the village. Though freshly born just days ago, these young ones were valued more for their loyalty. Plus, they were all descendants of the village. A drop of blood is worth more than a pond of water. So, Rao didn't bother listening to the others. Whoever obeyed could stay. Those who didn't were told to scram. The others fell silent. The red-haired demon even challenged the leader to a one-on-one duel, claiming that if he won, he'd rule the village and make the others bow down. He even said that Rau's wife should be the real leader, but it turned out to be Dao, so he looked down on her. Hearing this, Mu wanted to make them quit, but was stopped by her husband. Seeing their confidence, he thought there might be something interesting about them, so he accepted the challenge to face them all. As expected, the red demon pulled out a special weapon that enhanced all his stats. Lao Di, impressed by the weapon, flirted with Zay and Saturday, causing the two ladies to panic but could only tease him since he seemed to know everything, calling the equipment an orb weapon. After preparing, the two launched a powerful combined strike that shattered the enemy's fighting spirit, with a single punch nearly wiping out the whole demon troop. Later they were healed by the village healers. There was also a gorilla-like demon with high physical strength who tried sneaking attacks, flinging men far away. Just as he was celebrating, the demon struck again. Twisting his body, luckily, he survived. Earlier, Men was just testing his limits but couldn't match the key energy. Meanwhile, another demon hadn't fought yet but was already flirting with Rau's wife, even saying after defeating Rau he'd marry her. Rao, furious, beat that fool like a rag for daring to court his wife. Myo stopped him, otherwise the guy would be done for. To heal, Rao gave him some blood, but this proved a mistake. The demon got high on the blood and fell in love with the leader. This guy needed a serious beating to understand the problem. Other tribes, wiser, surrendered immediately, partly because they'd been enslaved by human soldiers and felt grateful for their freedom, wanting to repay the debt. After this, 50 members temporarily joined the mercenary legion. Dao also had them train harder. Regarding weapon crafting, the village upgraded today, thanks to Rao bringing in dwarf elders skilled in forging. They praised Myeu's craftsmanship, but said she still had much to learn, which upset her. She urged her husband to dismiss them, but since this was for the village's future, Dao advised patience. Meanwhile, men tried out the orb equipment and found it quite good but failed to command the summoned high-level monsters to be soldiers, so he dismissed them. He also attempted combining various skills but only ended up a mess. The day drained much spirit, so he asked his 6 wives to help him relax. The next day, he had the bone monsters work on upgrading the base. The most crucial upgrade was the hot spring, as men planned to bring elf wives here, so he had to work hard himself to avoid accidents. To prevent casualties, Rao had the new soldiers act as punching bags during skill training. During this, they received a warhammer from the dwarves. Though not powerful, it symbolized gratitude and friendship, so men kept it. That afternoon, the youth strolled the forest. Unlike before, the monsters now knew Dao was the forest's father and fled at the sight. Feeling down, Men was approached by a stunning beauty who invited him over. They hadn't met in a while, so she pinned Rao down for some funno early leave allowed. Sleeping with her was a delight since she was top tier, and gave many perks afterward. However, when he came home with lipstick marks all over his face, his 2 wives gave him a beating for cheating openly. That night, the 6 wives ambushed him. The next day, he assigned the logistics team to farm newly acquired premium seeds. These would solve the village's food problem. Dao encouraged everyone to work hard since he'd traded several hours with the beautiful lady for this privilege. Ruelia was happy to see her husband so motivated. This was her first time farming, and she was excited. I wonder where that familiar straw hat came from. Looks like Anma and Felicia. They still handled the cooking, and thanks to them, the whole village enjoyed delicious meals daily. A few days later, some new soldiers requested leave to visit their hometowns. All the surviving soldiers had fallen under Rau's wife's charm, who planned to use them as spies to gather intelligence on the human side, which was retreating unnoticed. The elf tribe leader also sent his thanks to Dao and the others. The war was truly over. To show gratitude, the elves threw a grand feast and invited the goblin village. Normally, this would upset other elves, but since they owed a debt, no objections arose. He shared how his younger brother had once tried to connect with the outside world, breaking taboos and getting exiled. He hoped one day his brother would return and thanked Dao deeply. If the elves had lost, they wouldn't have waited for that day. On day 90, the little one unearthed 2 massive spirit stones. This discovery was thanks to the returner who had taught them before. To show gratitude, Dao consumed the 2 gems and gained countless useful new skills. She then created many bone monsters, combining them to form a higher-level beast that could serve as a mount to escort the wives back to the city. Hearing this, they thought the wives had been expelled, but no, they just wanted to let them visit their families. If needed, they would come to bring them back. The next day, the communal bathhouse was completed with a fresh new style. With this, even old Laundi would bow and beg to bathe. The new soldier labourers were also allowed to return home for a while. Ruelia worried she might not be able to stay with her husband anymore, and lost focus in battle. The red-haired one, hearing this, gave up. If the leader wanted it. None could stop it. On the other side, Spinel's wife and others praised the forest. It was truly wonderful, filled with things missing from their old home. Everyone admired it. If you've ever felt powerless like these characters, take a moment to breathe and ask yourself, how did I survive my darkest days? Sometimes, what we need isn't power, but someone who believes in us, even just once. Amid chaos, maybe anime isn't just entertainment, it's a sanctuary for the soul. And if you're lost between choices in life, may this story remind you, even a small light can guide the way. Thanks for experiencing this journey with me. Life here was nothing short of amazing. Dao never abandoned them. Those few words alone stirred deep thoughts within me. The next day, when the rookie showed genuine kindness, he threw a welcome party for them. The demons shared how difficult it was to bring those human girls back. Humanity despised demi-humans like them, thinking they'd block their access to food. Then, plans were laid out for getting their wives home. They decided to split into several groups to gather information and find ways into the city. Most importantly, Dao forbade anyone from dying. By the next day, everything was set. They prepared to depart with help from the demon tribe. This new journey had begun. Dao, curious and bold, wanted a taste of the meat of the strong in this strange land. As they bid farewell to the forest, on day 102, they reached the city as planned, a fortified metropolis within Stanbeat's territory. According to gathered intel, demi-humans made up 40% of the population here, making this city a perfect haven for monsters. That's for ordinary demi-humans, though. For a gigantic and ruthless monster like men, entry wasn't so simple. The city's guards blocked their path, never before having seen creatures like Rao pass through. In the end, thanks to the 2 human wives explaining, they were allowed entry as normal. They found a large inn, spacious enough for all 7 of them to sleep comfortably. Dao then invited the 5 human wives to consider staying here or traveling with him, promising to cherish their opinions. Originally, these 5 women were captured to be exploited by the village, but fate brought them to men. Gradually, feelings blossomed between them. Honestly, Rao didn't want to part ways either, they fit together so well. After arriving, men had to register as adventurers to move freely in the city. Once the paperwork was done, they still had to hide Rao's identity and sell crafted items made in the cave. Everything was high quality, fetching good prices. Back at the inn, the wives planned to buy new clothes, and Dao wanted to scout around a bit. The young man had learned a transformation skill and returned to his former human form, now named Tomoku Kanata. Monsters turning into humans like this baffled even the demons. If they kept thinking about this godlike figure, they'd probably lose their minds. There was nothing he couldn't do. Stepping outside, men overheard chatter about a tattooed monster entering the city. Truly absurd. But hey, life's full of rumors. No point stressing over them. For now, Dao couldn't parade his monster form to promote the mercenary legion they were forming. A mercenary team that didn't get hired? That'd be rough. As the young man walked into a narrow alley, a gang of thugs pretending to be the DCH swordmasters blocked his way. The breeze was calm, but the wind just wouldn't stop. So, he gave those 6 fools a lesson they wouldn't forget, even snagging a bunch of their gang rings as trophies. Just after finishing his meal, more victims appeared. These thugs demanded extra protection money to keep their clients safe. They wore the same rings as the previous 6, proving this was a large, shady syndicate making dirty money. The gang leader didn't have enough cash and tried to use force to reclaim his territory. Men witnessed this and knew if he didn't intervene, he'd lose a chance to gather intel and make some business. So, he fought back, knocking out the thugs but sparing their lives, opting instead to use his parasitic clone technique. This wasn't just a fight, it was a strategic move, a dance of shadows in the city's underbelly. Men understood the balance between mercy and power, knowing every action rippled through this dangerous world. And as the night deepened, the mercenaries' path became clearer, strength tempered with heart, alliances forged in blood and trust. Diving into their ranks to uncover their lair, he dragged that jerk away, only to be scolded for being foolish letting those bastards escape. Rao K was furious and threw a punch, calling him an idiot. That move was like freeing a hawk to catch a perch. Even men acted superior, tossing a business card like a bone to a dog telling him to come find him if he needed to negotiate, and warning to keep this secret because he was a monster. After witnessing Main's illusionary transformation, that guy seemed to trust him. That night, he packed up and left. Turns out, he and the princess were secretly patrolling. The little one was a playful troublemaker who, seizing the chance, ran away from the guards only to be captured by villains. Truly hopeless. Using his clone, men discovered their hideout and immediately planned an ambush. He cut the power completely, then ruthlessly crushed the kidnappers. Unlike fairy tales where a prince heroically rescues the princess, Main's rescue was drenched in blood. But who cares? They got the info that these scoundrels were using the mischievous princess to stir chaos in the court, even burning down someone's house. He ordered the guy not to reveal this incident to anyone, telling him to fabricate a plausible story. The youth wanted to report this to the king for a proper solution, but men insisted on keeping a demon in the team to silently control the situation. The princess would also have to explain things herself. The next day, men received news from Chi that the kids in the group had welcomed new life in a beautiful way. This was truly heartening, but it made Rao ponder the wives' choices deeply. Normally, each of the girls should have had a child by now, but men wanted to keep his promise to free them, so he forbade pregnancies. The 5 wives had made their own decisions, all wanting to stay by their husband's side, as there was so much left unexplored. Most importantly, they deeply loved their 6-barreled man. This filled Dao with joy. Now he could play freely without worrying about any wife getting pregnant later. Just then, the princess who had been rescued yesterday came to thank men. She introduced herself as Rubilia, daughter of the first queen consort of Standbait Kingdom. Just hearing that name made Rao want to devour mother and daughter alike, but he held back. The blonde guy apologized for the princess's mischief and her insistence on coming personally to thank them. How the hell did that illusion demon hypnotize her so that things escalated like this? Rubilia knew men commanded a mercenary legion and wanted to act like her namesake, so she assigned a grand mission. She boldly called Dao by name, unafraid, requesting the Parabel Legion to escort her to the royal capital to fill her stomach. This left men wondering what kind of person she was to be so brazen. Her body radiated an incredible power, so he declined the offer. Rao told her she already had her own escort team, so why need them? But she refused, saying her escorts were weak and boring, not matching her vibe. Only by traveling with Dao could she have the freedom to do whatever she wanted. They argued for half a day, but she wouldn't back down. When men tried to reason, she only grew more amused. This girl even dangled a tempting golden card, a priceless reward that enchanted the four wives. In this world, a wife's wishes always come first, or else bedtime is in the pig pen, so Dao agreed. Truth be told, he was intrigued by the royal capital but hesitant because they were royalty. Now, forced by the wives, he had a reason. The next day, they met at the city gate, just the two of them. Rubilia had already ditched her escort to enjoy freedom. This could get Dao charged with kidnapping the princess, so he made it clear none of this was his fault. Soon, they left the city, with the princess thrilled, riding her mount like it was her lifetime pass. Her curiosity sparked the group's discovery of a herd of abandoned creatures. They hunted a few for food, finding the meat delicious. They even used one as a decoy to mask their centipede-like mount. This trip felt more like a wild adventure than an escort mission. Whenever they encountered strange monsters, they'd stop to enjoy them. Rubilia's reckless antics kept Dao busy. He had to scold her a bit or he'd suffer later. Continuing, they found a turtle-shelled snake nest, giving work to their three demons, the red flame demon, the blue wind demon, and the illusion demon. They caught dozens of snakes to roast, treating the meat like eels, savoring the feast with delight. Still, men couldn't figure out where Rubilia's insatiable curiosity came from. Everyone on that strange cart was dangerous, but she wasn't scared. On the contrary, she relished every new experience. After days of travel, Dao became the high seat, with the best view for her. The blonde youth trailing them was a true knight of the kingdom, having served the princess since childhood, earning her trust and protecting her. He asked to train Dao, who agreed. Then Rubilia chimed in, eager to try everything. Dao had to ask his wife for some guidance. Rubilia took training seriously. That night, they reached the territory of a powerful monster, the undisputed king of the skies. There were 3 paths to their destination, but Dao chose the most dangerous one, also the richest in prey. The next morning, the group grumbled about their leader's obsession with hunting the mighty jig, but Dao didn't care about their feelings. Good food was his true love. The youth caught some birds to batter and fry, much to the wives' delight. Venturing deeper into the monster's domain, they encountered a deadly swarm. Everyone was told to stay inside the cart, because Dao had vowed to feast on all the powerful beasts outside. The battle raged for an hour, filling the group with worry. The first wife trusted her husband to win after all. Rao often performed miracles and wouldn't abandon them. If he lost, it would be a bloody showdown. Outside, silence alone of them had to be dead. But no, peeking out revealed Dao's arm and leg had been severed, yet the catastrophic monster remained undefeated. Its speed was blinding. Pushed to his limits, Dao unleashed a breakthrough skill, biting into his severed arm to heal. After enduring a long assault, he mastered all his opponent's moves. Honestly, he had to thank the beast. It had sharpened his skills. The battle was brutal, but it forged Dao's spirit and body. Sometimes, the fiercest storms bring out the strongest warriors. If you've ever faced a challenge that seemed impossible, take a breath and ask yourself, what hidden strength did you discover within? And if you find yourself lost between fear and courage, remember Dao's journey, how even broken parts can become weapons, and how relentless spirit can turn the tide. This tale isn't just about battles or monsters, it's about growth, resilience, and the unpredictable paths that shape us. Thanks for walking this path with me. The second round of training officially begins. Men uses an ultra-sticky silk to trap the jay-eagle, simultaneously unleashing a skill that paralyzes the bird, its body growing heavy and unable to move. Seizing this moment, Rao delivers a devastating blow, knocking the bird unconscious. Blessed with powers like his, it's no wonder this creature was so formidable. The underlings watch this scene in stunned silence, speechless at the display. Examining the glowing chest of the bird, they discover a rare gem inside. They warn Rao not to swallow it. Such a treasure could fetch enough money to buy a small kingdom. As for the jay-eagle's meat, the group roasts and eats it together. After the intense battle, the satisfaction of their reward is palpable. This meat is truly the finest they've ever tasted. The skills gained are countless, mostly related to aerial combat. When activated, wings sprout intriguingly from men's back. Later, Rubilia seriously asks why Rao always eats the flesh of fallen face, a question reminiscent of one asked by someone from a past life. Men's only answer is survival. If the enemy is dead, there's no reason to hesitate in eating them. Consuming the fallen grants benefits, absorbing their resentment and regrets. This way, nothing is wasted, and no dangerous evil spirits are born. After this, Rubilia falls into a thoughtful silence, likely weighed down by her own concerns. But Men remains determined to keep devouring strong opponents to grow stronger and live the life he desires, not like his past existence. On day 109, Rao and the group arrive at Ghost Mountain Village, a peaceful place. When monsters like Men appear, the village's calm only deepens. Though the villagers are weak, their love for family shines. They know they cannot win but still pick up sticks and threaten Rao, trying to chase him away. This kind of scene probably only happens in the countryside, people supporting each other to survive. In the city, everyone runs for themselves, afraid to unite and risk dying together. Luckily, Rubilia follows closely, activating her royal clan's mark to calm everyone down. She politely asks them to step aside, and both sides yield like a perfectly choreographed dance. This majestic display of power is the kind Rao has only seen in historical dramas, never experienced firsthand. Nearby lives a strong militia. The group discovers a stunning waterfall, a rare gem of the countryside. Living in a place like this truly feels like a blessing. Eventually, the villagers offer them shelter at the chief's house. For the first time, Rubilia enjoys carefree play, teasing Rao's wife until she's comically furious. But that's not all being a princess. Rubilia rents out the entire hot spring area so everyone can relax. In the countryside, people protect each other. Fiercely, threats are met with solidarity, not fear. This scene, where they chase off the troublemaker Raoul, feels like a warm embrace of community spirit, something city life rarely offers. Luckily, Rubilia's presence ignites the royal mark's power, calming everyone instantly. As she commands, the crowd parts respectfully, a true display of power wrapped in grace. The grandeur of this moment feels like something out of an ancient epic, a royal spectacle rarely seen outside historical dramas. Nearby, the group stumbles upon a breathtaking waterfall, a hidden gem in their rural haven. Living here, surrounded by such beauty, is a dream come true. The entire party finds shelter in the village chief's home, and Rubilia finally lets loose, her joyful spirit teasing her wife to no end. But that's not all being a princess. She rents out the hot spring so everyone can unwind in luxury. The girls gossip about how their figures have blossomed since joining men's group, each determined to outdo the other. After their refreshing bath, the village throws a feaster, simple yet deeply heartfelt celebration. The highlight? The village chief's rare wine, praised by all who taste it. Dancing and laughter fill the night, stirring memories of past revelries with the elf tribe in the forest. Yet, amid the joy, troubles brew. Some reckless youths, caught up in admiration for Wemmy's beauty, overstep boundaries and pay dearly with bruises and near defeat. The village not only defends itself but teaches a lesson in respect. After the feast, the group collapses into exhaustion, their overwhelming appetites and wild spirits finally sated. Dawn breaks, and they depart from Marson village, pressing onward to the royal capital. Spirits remain high, the journey unfolding exactly as hoped. Inside the carriage, no complaints arise, just anticipation for tomorrow's descent to inhabited lands. The girls seem tense, and when asked, Felicia and Anma admit feeling fatigued. With a gentle nod, the leader urges them to rest. Meanwhile, the day's cooking duties fall to him, a quiet moment of responsibility. Something stirs in the air, a premonition perhaps. By the next morning, the truth can no longer be hidden. Both wives' bellies swell unnaturally fast. This undeniable sign of pregnancy carries a mystery. Unborn children grow at an alarming pace, leaving everyone in awe and concern. Felicia and Anma admitted they felt a bit weary. Hearing this, he told the two to rest while he took charge of preparing the meal. Deep down, he sensed this was an ominous sign. The next day, everything came crashing down when the bellies of the two wives swelled alarmingly. This proved they were both pregnant, but for some reason the babies were growing at an unnatural pace. No one in the group had experience with this, so they reached out for help, calling their elders. Old Man D listened, his face clouded with worry. There was no time to return to the village. Though uncertain, he guessed the twins were draining nutrients from their mothers to grow rapidly, signaling they were about to be born. If the mothers were monsters, this wouldn't be a problem. But these were fragile human women. Their bodies weren't equipped to nourish two rapidly growing babies. There was a real danger the children might tear through their wombs. The situation became critical. They had to find a quiet place to let the wives rest and seek a way to save both mom and babies. Seeing this dire plight, even playful Rubilia sat quietly in a corner, silently praying. Felicia and Anma grew weaker by the hour, their bodies nearly drained of nutrients. Even eating didn't help anymore. Mayen's heart ached with worry. They knew the stakes and urged their husband to stop making that grim face. Both were proud to be the first wives to carry his children, willing to risk their lives for it. But soon, their flesh and muscle dwindled to mere skin on bones, their bodies so frail that medicine barely had any effect. Spinel, the other wife, begged her husband to do something to nourish them, or they would die. It was a grim choice, but Men made a desperate decision. He would sever his own arm to feed his wives through his blood and flesh. They couldn't do the same for him, but seeing him hurt himself, the wives didn't hesitate to accept the sacrifice, feeding on the raw flesh without hesitation. Though this could breed resentment, Main's arm could regenerate, so it was a price he was willing to pay. With his care, both wives regained significant strength and nourishment for their unborn children. He vowed no one would die on his watch, and the twins, sensing their father's resolve, became more cooperative, consuming the arm. Hours later, they discovered a suitable cave to serve as a birthing place. It was a Bear family's home, so Men cleared everyone out to make space for his wives. Using his skills, he crafted 2 beds for comfort, while the unborn babies continued to grow, their bellies swelling like they would burst at any moment. To ease the pain, Men continuously used healing magic wherever the babies pressed from inside. He healed from the outside. He also applied anesthetics to Felicia and Anma, but the agony remained so intense Felicia fainted. The fetuses seemed to have reached a critical stage and stopped developing further. Men contacted his younger brother at home to share images and teach the wives surgical techniques, knowledge crucial for future emergencies. Other wives watched closely, eager to learn in case they ever faced similar trials. Thanks to these efforts, the battle for life was won. The twins were born healthy, Felicia's daughter and Anma's son. Since the mothers were twins themselves, the injuries and recovery after birth were nearly identical. The wives used their blood and flesh to regenerate fully. The joy of seeing their children born was indescribable. Their bodies trembled with fear and awe. This would be the fiercest battle Men would ever remember. After 111 days, they finally had a happy family, 6 wives and 2 children, not counting the others outside. Rebelia was allowed to hold the newborn twins, terrified but amazed. At this moment, Old Man Jay contacted them about the grandchildren, revealing a chilling truth. These were ogre hybrids, not pure ogres like men. Their unique trait was the single horn each bore. Old Man D called them unruly monsters of the world, destined to be eliminated before they grew stronger. No god or celestial could defeat them once mature. Usually, human women bearing half demons give birth to children resembling the father's race, but with a 1 in a million chance, a hybrid child inherits full power from the father and traits of the mother. These hybrids become feared beings, shunned by the world. The twins would likely lead tragic lives, too powerful to be accepted. Yet, as the firstborns, the wives couldn't reject them. Men himself was strong enough to raise them, and even if society hated them later, he and his wives would give them all the love they needed to fill the void. Men learned much from Old Man Dai and always heeded his advice. This time, though, it was a warning he was grateful for. His younger brother urged the old man to stop worrying, confident Men had a plan. After all, Main's very existence defied the world's laws. If trouble arose, the Parabellum members would stand by their side. Thus, everything would find a way to be resolved. As for the twins, their bodies were truly special, each carrying the traits of demon lords. They even inherited the orbs equipment favored by the demon trio in their group, likely from their father who devoured many dragon orbs and spear. He named his daughter Oro and his son Entwinison, names for the first true members of the clan not named by Old Man Dai. Men thanked his wives once more for their sacrifices and apologized for the hardships they endured. The next day, the weather outside seemed to conspire against them. Snow fell harshly, a brutal test that halted their movement. Men had to venture out alone to hunt for food and scout the area. During his exploration, he encountered a beast of legendary statusits presence, majestic and indescribable. He named it Dio. A quick assessment suggested his chances of victory were only 30%. But with his family waiting for him back home, he resolved to take the risk and face the beast head-on. The legend of Dior wasn't just about strength, it was a symbol of the wild's untamed beauty, a challenge that mirrored Main's own fight for survival. That moment was a crossroads between despair and hope, where every breath and blade could mean life or death. Facing Dior, Men wasn't just fighting a beast, he was battling fate itself, fueled by the love for his wives and newborn she's true reason to keep going. This story reminds us, even in the darkest trials, the bonds we forge and the sacrifices we make light the way forward. What would you do if your world depended on such courage? Would you stand firm like men, or falter beneath the weight? Anime like this aren't just tales, they're reflections of the battles within us all. So as we close this chapter, let's cherish the strength found in love, sacrifice, and the unbreakable will to protect those we hold dear. Thanks for walking this journey with me. May it inspire you to find your own light, even in the fiercest storms. And if you ever feel lost between choices, remember, even the smallest flame can ignite a path through the darkness. Keep watching, keep believing, and never forget the heart of anime beats in the courage to endure. Until next time, stay strong, and may your own story be as epic and heartfelt as Mayenn's. Thanks for being part of this adventure. Now, back to the battle with Dior looming. Every step counts. Main's gamble is about to unfold. That deer seemed to understand exactly what Dao wanted. gifting him 2 antlers before vanishing in a blink. Holding those antlers, Dao thought about biting into them, knowing they'd grant strength. But with 2 kids now, he held back. The best treats were for them, and he'd feast only on the leftovers. Starving, he settled for some slim creatures to ease his hunger. Then, right ahead, an unexpected battle erupted. A fierce clash broke out between humans and monsters. The team was clearly powerful and coordinated, but their monstrous opponent wasn't ordinary. It spoke, and commanded its pack with sharp tactics. Watching this intense fight, Dao confirmed this was the strongest team he'd ever encountered. The young man in red armor on the other side was the powerhouse, swiftly dispatching the enemy's minions. That goat showed no fear, as if it had foreseen this moment. It bore red stripes like Dao signs of immense strength. The team took a brutal magical hit, nearly wiped out except for the red-armored youth who held firm. When the monster unleashed a second spell unexpectedly, Dao stepped in wielding a newly learned skill combined with his gear to deliver a devastating blow. He unleashed a destruction strike that forced the insect below to instantly retreat. It was the first time Dao used this spell, surprising even Dao himself with its power. Though tempted to seize both the prey and the fight, he chose not to kill them, flashing a confident smile and feigning innocence. He gauged if the opponent wanted to engage physically. Suddenly, he felt a strange sensation watching the red-armored youth. Maybe Dao hadn't saved him but had actually blocked his chance to kill the monster. He saw an awe-inspiring power radiating from the youth and decided to stop fighting. Dao approached, and since the youth didn't retaliate, he grew friendly, praising their skill. The team was confused Dao had stolen their prey but still wanted to share it with them. Dao exchanged the monster for healing potions made by Spinel's wife, pretending the beast had been slain by its master and now reclaimed. The others dared not argue. After bidding farewell to the group, their fear evaporated. They never imagined such a powerful being existed. The youth hadn't received any notifications, meaning Dao hadn't reached epic rank yet, but the aura he projected left the youth frozen until touched, snapping him back. That contact painted a vivid image. If he fought this youth, the whole team would perish. On the way back, Dao feasted on the monster's meat, hunger overpowering him. The rest he saved for the group and his 2 kids, who looked just like their father when he was young. One day, Aro and Ento stood and called him Dada, moment that stunned Dao, seeing them as prodigies. Then he crushed the antlers into porridge to feed them. The porridge worked wonders. Their bodies began to glow. A few leftover antler fragments were shared with his wife, yielding the same result. Both gained 2 hidden skills, proving those antlers were truly precious. Dao realized that if he had challenged the Diao back then, he wouldn't have survived. That entity was beyond his reach for now. Luckily, it favored Dao enough to gift him these items. That night, Dao couldn't sleep, pondering the 2 hidden skills he'd unlocked. After activating something from those skills, his beard evolved for the 3rd time into an extraordinary form. The dawn promised new power, but also new challenges looming on the horizon. The 114th Mercenary Legion, led by Dao, faced a similar challenge. A few days ago, his 2 wives had become pregnant, their babies growing rapidly. They were forced to pause at a place with water, giving the mothers time to rest and give birth. This was their 2nd time, so the group had gained some experience. Outside, hearing the cries of newborns brought relief. Emily gave birth to an ogre child, just like during her 2nd evolution. Meanwhile, Spinel's wife bore a human daughter, a joyous moment for Al, especially the proud parents who celebrated the safe arrival of their children. They named the dark-skinned son Oniwa, and the tiny youngest daughter Nicola. Because they were from different species, the 2 kids had very different sizes. Rubilia was thrilled, eager to hold and play with them. Both wives recovered well after childbirth, allowing the group to keep moving forward. The next day, the group arrived at a new city, the last stop before reaching the royal capital. To avoid drawing attention, Rubilia disguised herself carefully since revealing her princess identity would cause chaos. Dao left his 4 pregnant wives resting at an inn, while he and some others headed to the Adventurers Guild to gather news. Rubilia was fascinated by this place. It was more developed here, with free training grounds open to everyone in the guild. The people seemed less afraid of the bearded warriors, even daring to challenge them to duels. The main guy sized them up, finding them too weak to be fun, so he handed the fight to the 3 demons on his team. He even offered 5 silver tickets if they could defeat those 3. Suddenly, Dao found himself forced into a tough red demon battle, but had no choice but to fight. The onlookers treated them like a goldmine, cheering wildly during the fight. Watching them battle so joyfully sparked a tinge of envy in Dao. The reason the first wife wasn't allowed to fight was her reluctance to hold back she might accidentally kill someone. In the end, no one could defeat those 3 demons, and they realized they were growing stronger thanks to following Dao. Overwhelmed with joy, Dao took the chance to promote the Parabel Mercenary Legion. Afterwards, he took his 2 wives to restock supplies and was amazed to discover cameras being sold. He bought one to capture precious moments with his children. Seeing the kids smile while their father took photos was pure happiness. That night, Dao reflected deeply on what awaited them at the royal capital. Due to the wives' recent births, he couldn't contact his other teams. Shortly after, he connected with Sei and Sato's Team 3, who were doing well robbing bandits to buy whatever they pleased. Team 5 was equally diligent. The youngest member constantly gathered information everywhere. Team 4, however, lacked leadership, causing constant bickering about where to go. To better manage them, Dao appointed a second evolution goblin sister named Xin to lead the last team, which was actually Kichi and E's Team 2. But when they contacted Team 2, shocking news came through. Dao had been slain by a sword strike. This revelation drenched Dao in cold sweat. Wife Mi woke up, overheard the news, and was equally shocked. The next day, she insisted on meeting Kichi's team first to clarify what really happened. Rubilia had no objections. Since the journey was quick, she agreed to stay a few more days, driven by curiosity to meet Dao's other comrades. The story of Dao's death was shared. The Red Demons believed it was a prophetic warning, something that might come true. Dao forbade anyone from discussing the grim omen to avoid spreading fear. Ultimately, Dao wanted to reunite with Kichi's team since they were only 2 days' travel away. The next day's journey was peaceful, without a single monster in sight. The kids happily called Dao Papa, filling him with joy. Unlike the 2 hybrid children, Oniwa wasn't growing as fast, still only able to crawl, and the human daughter hadn't started walking yet, likely needing another year. Meanwhile, Mi was deeply troubled by the news of Dao's death. She treasured the first gift Dao had given her and tried to stay hopeful. Mi found comfort in knowing that despite all the hardships, they had always overcome challenges together. She wished the upcoming events would bring happiness to their family. Nicola felt useless, unable to evolve like Dao or bear children like the other wives. Dao encouraged her, saying that as long as she kept her determination to grow stronger, no teammate would be left behind. He was confident the first wife would evolve soon. As for children, there was no rush. His love for her remained unwavering. On the 118th day, they reached the magical city, GRE Force, to meet Kichi's team. Dao guessed they were in the dungeon and waited outside. Suddenly, adventurers rushed out, frightened, warning about a powerful minotaur so strong even the Lord couldn't defeat it. The guild leader, knowing Dao, requested his help to face this beast, since others fled in terror. The sound of footsteps echoed like drums, making Dao nervous until he finally met the married couple. Just as expected, they had evolved to the 3rd stage, becoming massive like Dao. Kichi stood beside his friend like a father with his son. He teased Dao for growing so big, but the truth was the friend had bulked up. The adventurers who fainted were safely carried back by E. Dao asked about the story behind his death, and the couple explained they had encountered the dungeon boss at its deepest level. The boss had no fixed form, transforming into the strongest opponent in its mind, who happened to be Dao himself. With strength matching Dao's, the monster fought fiercely, leaving Kichi battered and barely alive. At the brink of death, Kichi managed to evolve to the 3rd stage, becoming a minotaur as well. At the same time, Dao received the vision of his fake death. It was all just an illusion, nothing to truly fear. After that, E also evolved, and both husband and wife grew stronger, becoming the team's frontline warriors. Dao was thrilled. At the GRE Force headquarters, the team waits anxiously to meet Kichi's group. Kichi suspects they're trapped deep within the dungeon, so he holds vigil outside. Just then, frantic adventurers burst out, breathless and terrified, warning of a minotaur so fierce that even the Divine Lord fears it. The guild leader, recognizing a possible ally in men, sends someone to assist, as other adventurers flee in panic every time they encounter the beast. Amid the chaos, the pounding footsteps drum like war drums. Raoul's heart races in anticipation. Finally, the reunited couples come face to face. As expected, both have undergone their 3rd evolution, growing immense and powerful like men. Kichi stands beside his friend, a giant, and his son, joking about how the little one has grown too big from all their travels, which is really thanks to his evolution. Meanwhile, the fainted adventurers are safely escorted away. Men probes about the incident where he was grievously wounded, eager to understand what truly happened. His wife and her husband recount their harrowing dungeon exploration. At the deepest level, they confronted the boss and entity without a fixed form, transforming into the opponent's greatest threat. Since Ki always regarded men as his strongest rival, the beast morphed into men's likeness, wielding equal power. The brutal battle left Kichi battered and broken, a shattered warrior caught in the jaws of despair. Born at that critical moment with one last chance to survive, he triumphed, evolving for the third time into a mighty minotaur. At the same time, the call from Dao came through. So when Kichi unleashed his finishing slash, the image of the fake beard being cut was transmitted to Menthat was the whole story, nothing to worry about. After that, Little E also evolved into a chili, with both husband and wife growing stronger, making Dao very happy because they would be the strongest frontline warriors of the team. Returning to celebrate, Kichi refused as usual. After evolving, the two close friends always had to fight to see who was stronger. The battle that followed was fierce, ensuring that this deadly duo would test each other inside a huge pit. Many spectators came to watch. Rubilia was puzzled, aren't they good teammates? Why so serious? Wife Me explained that, although they were very close, she, her husband, and Kichi were all born on the same day. Because of that, everyone wanted to get stronger to not fall behind their comrades. MH's kids also came to watch their fathers fight, learning from them. Dao was quite happy since it had been a while since she last fought with Kichi. She saw he was at his peak and could no longer be underestimated. The two high-level weapons Kichi gave his friend had also evolved. They were adaptive, growing stronger as Kichi's body grew. It was known that Kichi had battled very powerful foes in the labyrinth, defeating many of his kind. All of this was to be strong enough to take down Dao and stand firm. Kichi was at his peak, no longer someone to be underestimated. The two high-tier weapons he handed to his friend had evolved alongside him, adapting to their wielder's growth. As Kichi's body expanded, so did their power. He had clashed with formidable foes in the labyrinth, toppling many of his own kind. All this was a test only. By defeating Dao could he stand truly equal and become a genuine friend. In truth, they'd been friends since childhood. But Kichi's rapid growth, constantly lecturing and guiding Dao, made it feel less like friendship and more like rivalry. If he could defeat Dao, he could finally stand as an equal. Those words struck a chord with Men, making him realize just how deeply his friend cared far more than he had imagined. In response, Men drew his legendary level weapon, silently hoping Kichi would push him to his limits. Like two mighty bulls charging boom, the clash exploded with earth-shattering force. Kichi's battle mace was monstrously heavy. No one but him could lift it. Yet, despite his massive frame, his speed never faltered. Kichi struck unpredictably, flames trailing behind the fiery onslaught, forcing Men to retreat as his healing was interrupted. Spectators above gasped this was perhaps the fiercest duel they'd ever witnessed. Post-evolution, Kichi mastered two elements, fire and lightning. While Dao could withstand lightning, Kichi's firepower now eclipsed his own, tipping the scales. This was the manifestation of Kichi's unyielding spirithis, burning desire to stand shoulder to shoulder with his friend, truly awe-inspiring. As usual, Raoul nagged his friend, reminding him to stay alert, to use every advantage. Exploiting Kichi's bulky frame, Men silently unleashed earth and stone attacks. Kichi took the hits but refused to fall, relying on sheer grit and lightning-fast speed to clear the rubble. Dao tried to keep his distance, only to be pushed back by a new move from Kichi, a bull's charge forged from a shield, matching Kichi's own strength. It was insanely powerful. Forced to act, Men unleashed a rare skill he never used in solo battles against his friend. With this, he hurled Kichi away, followed by a flurry of lightning-fast punches that cornered him. Kichi struggled, but his stamina post-evolution was on another level. He could probably endure this all day. Rubilia noticed the red glow from the blows, recognizing the signature of the Thousand Flowers spear. The battle was heating up. Pressed hard, Kichi exploded with fiery power, erecting a blazing wall that blocked sight. Leaping high, he prepared his ultimate technique. Seeing this, Rao frantically attacked with earth and stone, but it was futile. Kichi raised his shield, deflecting every strike. Standing atop his fiery barrier, he unleashed his strongest move yet. Even Rao, shocked, scolded his friend for recklessness's wild power endangered the spectators above. Thankfully, no one was hurt. In truth, this reckless move came from Kichi losing his cooler momentary lapse in calm that turned the tide of battle. The raw emotion behind that attack spoke volumes of his passion and the fierce bond driving these two warriors. Losing control to anger when unable to defeat Rao made Men feel dumbfounded. After taking that blow, he could fully recover, but the comrades above didn't grasp the gravity of the situation, only glancing to see if anyone was hurt. Unfortunately, Rao unleashed his energy to summon thunder and fire, but held back from spreading it too far, his anger boiling over at his friend's foolishness. That big guy lacked wisdom. Using his authority, he scared Kichi, who instantly jumped up and activated his newly learned hidden skill, smashing his friend's shield to pieces. Kichi's punch caught Rao off guard, making him recall the first time he disciplined him. After that hit, the big guy flew off somewhere unknown. Whether he survived or not was a mystery. On day 121, the Parabellum Mercenary Legion had completed their mission escorting Jubula safely to the royal capital. Even the wives were excited to show everyone the breathtaking sights of this grand city. Seeing such a massive metropolis shocked them, reminding them of the recent battle. After being knocked away, Kichi returned to continue fighting until the next day, when the couple finally stopped. Then they asked permission to return to Goblin Village to wait for their leader to complete his commission before moving on. It was said that the technologies in this royal capital were developed by the kingdom's finest. First, the group wanted to take men and everyone else to rest in the royal city. The breathtaking scenery left the wives speechless. It was the home of Rubilia, so different from the earthen caves they were used to. The mischievous princess mentioned that escorting Dao had been hard work, so today was meant for celebration. A special gift was being prepared as a reward, but with all the delicious food, everyone stuffed themselves full since such occasions were rare. The splendor was so overwhelming that the wives couldn't sleep. The rooms were huge and fragrant, making it impossible to calm down. Thankfully, the kids slept soundly through it all. The next morning, Rubilia arrived right on schedule. As promised, men received a golden card exchangeable for money, but even more special was the card bearing Rubilia's signature. It granted free access to important places in the royal capital, allowing them to come and go as they pleased. This surprised Dao, who hadn't expected such trust from the princess. He put on a serious face and asked if Rubilia wasn't afraid he might misuse it. The young one replied she didn't think he'd do anything reckless. Along the way, she had observed Dao's character and found him trustworthy enough to give the card. Hearing this, he realized the princess was far more dangerous than her playful exterior suggested. She wasn't just about fun, but razor-sharp wise. Giving men this card was also a way to call on him if trouble arose, allowing the Parabellum Mercenary Legion direct access without needing an escort. Seeing the young lady's clear intention to keep adventuring alongside him, the guy was speechless. After a day of fun, the group asked to leave since they couldn't stay long. Rubilia's guard thanked them on the princess's behalf and said goodbye. The young man who had sneaked out for fun too long was now under house arrest. Dao told him to train harder if he wanted to become a better guard, and with his wife's help the young man showed some progress. Before this, men had spread his clones throughout the royal capital to monitor the situation, ready to respond if anything went wrong. After 2 days of fast travel, they were close to home. Everything was fine except for the wife, MRA, who was still worried about her strength. Seeing Kichi had grown much stronger made her feel useless. She asked her husband what level she was at. It was 89. At level 100, they would evolve, so Dao planned to help her farm levels to evolve as promised. He believed that as long as he wanted to grow stronger, no one would be left behind. He also wanted her to lean on him more. After all, he was her husband, and supporting her wholeheartedly was his duty. Hearing this, she brightened up and asked for his help to train and evolve. Then they paused everything to focus on training her. Going out to hunt monsters would waste time, so he created some high-level monsters for her to fight. She was determined and said she wouldn't stop until she completely drained her power. So she charged into battle with all her might until late afternoon, exhausted but still unable to evolve, which made her a bit down. She even fell into a brief coma from overexertion. After bringing her back to camp, men also felt drained from pushing his magic so far, something he had never done before. This time, Mi had truly pushed him to his limits. The wives reminded him not to overdo it next time. Fighting while drained would tire the whole family. Afterwards, they ate and enjoyed themselves together. That night, Mi entered her evolution phase. The next morning, when Men woke up, he found his wife looking even more beautiful, almost reborn thanks to him. She had evolved into a high-level vampire, but the most special news was that she had officially become his legal wife both in skill and reality. Overjoyed, she laughed through tears and was embraced warmly by Dao. Though happy to see her grow stronger, seeing her smile like this was true happiness. The next day, they finally returned to their homeland, the Karun forest. At first, they expected to live in damp caves again, but upon arrival, the group was stunned by the palace-like buildings. Their teammates came out to welcome the leader back. This construction was the result of exploring new lands. Sei and Sato had drawn the blueprints for others to build quickly, driven by their desire to surprise Dao. Usually, Dao was the one causing surprises in the village, but this time everyone was shocked. The tunnels were dug by the big couple, Kichi and I, who worked fast. Even now, their territory was still expanding. Kichi took his friend to explore from the farming area to the livestock zone. Everything was set up. The mistress who Dao occasionally caught sneaking food had also moved here. She had evolved to wear clothes, no longer just leaves as before. Knowing this was the same woman who always left lipstick marks on the couple's faces, made Dao quite annoyed. Fa and Sato were the masterminds behind the new land designs, guiding others to build them quickly. Driven by a desire to surprise Dao, they pushed themselves harder than usual. Usually, in the village, surprises came only from him. This time, seeing men shocked made everyone happy. The hard work of digging tunnels belonged to the couple Kichi and E, whose large bodies allowed them to work swiftly. Even now, their territory continued expanding. Kichi took his friend to explore from the farming area to the livestock zone. They had everything. Plus, the mistress who occasionally sneaked food from Dao had moved here to live. She had evolved too, now wearing clothes instead of leaves, unmistakably the same woman who left her mark on her husband's cheek. Wife Mi was quite annoyed. The village population surged, welcoming several new tribes, including goblins and especially the cat tribe. The Ketsit were poor fighters but incredibly skilled workers, with adorable appearances, so they were permitted to stay. Just then, little Chi rushed in with urgent news. The village elder, Old Gi, had fallen ill. The whole group hurried to visit, knowing his time was short. Old Gi heard the rumors that he would die soon and scolded himself. He understood this would be their last meeting and felt glad the group had returned. He was introduced to Dao's children, and seeing them with his own eyes brought him joy, recalling when he used to hold little Dao in his arms. Now he had a whole brood. The young men teased him about boasting since he probably didn't remember carrying Dao even once. With everyone gathered, men also announced the results of their long journey over a month. He had evolved into a demon apostle, Wife Mi into a vampire noble, Ki had become an immensely powerful minotaur, and little E had transformed into a thunder demon. Hearing this, Old Gi, he felt peace in his final moments, witnessing their growth, a deep fulfillment washing over him. The founding father of the goblin village had truly passed, leaving a heavy sorrow. Seeing old die with a smile was bittersweet, but then their son peeked out, leaving everyone speechless right until the end. The old man saluted with pride. What a character to the very last breath. The whole village gathered later to cremate him, sending him to his eternal rest. By goblin years, he had lived long 20 years in his prime, setting a benchmark they all hoped to surpass. Afterward, Dee proposed a village fight to showcase their skills for the elder's spirit. Ki was thrilled, eager for a rematch like before, and the kids clamored to join. The father was delighted, promising to capture every moment. The rules were simple: battle 1-on-1 without weapons, forcing the opponent to surrender to win. If someone accidentally died, there would be severe consequences, so everyone needed to know their limits. Dai planned to rank everyone in the mercenary legion based on their true strength. Meanwhile, his redhead wife challenged him, curious to see how her student had grown. Sato was dared by the young wife to test her skills despite their size difference. Not one to back down, Sato charged in for close combat. Nearby, Sai also challenged me, both wielding magic fire versus ice, each much stronger after exploring new lands. The many-eyed younger sister, Mi, was attacked by the red demon, but she only had scouting skills, not combat prowess, so she lost. The pure-hearted Xin faced a tough opponent, a bizarre-looking corpse-eater who, despite her odd appearance, was ferociously strong, leaving her adversary helpless and unable to land a blow. The spotlight, however, was on the duel between the two minotaurs. Like before, Ki had to thank his friend for helping him reach this level. They remembered how the three always fought side by side, evolving together through hardships. Ki still wanted to defeat his friend, to prove he was still improving. Since the fight was fist-only, both unleashed their strongest punches from the start, shaking everything around them with the shockwaves. Luckily, the arena was sturdy, protecting the spectators from harm. In the end, the two friends were evenly matched, neither able to claim victory. Ki's raw power was undeniable. Overall ranking crowned Dao as the #1 in the village. Mi came in third, and the youngest wife. Note: the original text cuts off here, so the conclusion for the youngest wife's rank is incomplete. Ranked fourth after defeating Sato and Seikichi, and second only to Dao in strength, the other ranks are filled with promising talents. Except for Chi, the younger brother, who stayed behind to manage affairs in the rear, everyone else had their positions within the legion. Afterwards, the group celebrated with a feast, children exhausted from battle, yet thrilled to witness their village members growing stronger. Dao felt a quiet satisfaction. On the night of day 127, Dao received a call from the mischievous little princess Rubilia. She already had a new mission for Dao's legion. Yet, Dao pretended ignorance, sensing Rubilia was secretly plotting something. Now, boasting 400 mercenaries, the legion was a force to reckon with. If a major crisis hit the kingdom, things could get intense. The princess mentioned wanting to introduce them to the kingdom's people. By doing so, more people would come to know and hire the legion for missions. This was exactly what Dao wanted, so he agreed.